The following content has been rated for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Well, I'm not an expert. I'm not an authority. I'm someone who has been a murderer for almost 20 years.
Maybe I should have killed 400 or 500 people, then I would have felt better.
People say Ted Bundy didn't show any emotion. There must be something in that. I showed emotion. You know what people said? See, you really can get violent and angry.
Welcome to the Squonk The Hag, a podcast about murder, mystery, the supernatural, and even a conspiracy or two.
Dun dun dun!
My name is Mo.
And I'm Kraken.
Welcome on in, guys, to another episode of the Squonk The Hag. With me, as always, is Krako.
And I feel like the new thing should be not grab your popcorn, but grab your Advil or Tylenol, your pain medication of choice.
Well, tonight is our last story before Christmas, so you should probably get, like, one of those industrial-sized tubs of Advil to get yourself through this one, as well as you know what that means.
Okay, but I know it's a motel, and you saying grab a tub of Advil, now I'm concerned.
Oh, well, before we get to that, it's time to get in the holiday spirit, Krako. It's time for auto-tuned Mo.
Jingle bell rock. Jingle bells swing and jingle bells ring. Snowing and blowing up bushels of fun. Now the jingle hop has begun.
Although Krako didn't hear that auto-tuned because I have to do that in post, so he just had to hear my god-awful singing.
I was going to say, you better add auto-tune to this. I'm waiting for it.
Well, I can't do it, like, on the fly. At least I don't know how to.
Sounds like a you problem.
You know what? Now you deserve tonight's story.
Fair enough. I mean, don't I always?
Fair. Although, I don't know if you saw, Corey posted a picture in the podcast Nexus of, like, this...
I usually check that, but I might have missed that one.
Yeah, it's like this, like, crazy, like, abandoned basement type situation, and I'm like, how did you get a picture of Krako's lair?
Yeah, no, that's accurate.
I made myself laugh, at least. But yeah, so this is our last story, like I said, our last story before Christmas, so this is going to be a Christmas-themed story. I will... Like we always have our, viewer discretion thing. Usually when there is something with children involved, I do like to say something. Now, there is a child who gets hurt, but she does survive. So, there is, it's not like some crazy guy hurts a lot of kids or something like.
Not like the one with the homemade dolls.
Yeah, it's not that one. Not that one. Definitely not that one.
I have to say, I think that might be the worst that we've gotten on this story. Not like worst as in it was a bad story, but worst as in the situation.
Yeah. So, just a heads up, so you don't have to worry about horrible violence to children, but there is an 8-year-old little girl who did get hurt in the insanity of this story. I will say... When I picked this story, I knew very, high-level stuff. So, obviously, then you start digging, and this one threw me for a loop.
I love those stories.
Yeah, so... Happy holidays, y'all! You're welcome. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Here we go.
Yay! It's like, I have that feeling of when you're at an amusement park and you get on the roller coaster and they lower the safety stuff and it clicks into place and you're like, well, shit, can't go anywhere now.
You're stuck now. The ride is just beginning.
Yeah. Oh, actually, I just realized I did have an announcement. I completely forgot, completely spaced, but talking about Christmas episodes. Coming up here in this month sometime, I don't know the exact date, but I made a guest appearance on a podcast called The Waffling Tailors, which is a video game podcast. And it was just so Jay is an active member over at the podcast Nexus. Super awesome dude, super chill. Always has like really great insights on not just podcasting but life, and also is like this super smart computer dude. Like writes programs or something. I don't actually know.
You could have just said super cool hacker man and it would, close enough.
Yeah, it's Hacker Man. So the Waffling Tailors is him and Squidge, and we had a blast. We talked about cozy Christmas video games. We talked about pretty much anything and everything you could think of. Pickles came up. Watermelon came up.
Yeah, that sounds like a podcast, yeah.
Yeah, it was very much like, I wasn't completely sure, because like obviously hearing the two of them go back and forth and stuff like that, you can kind of get a feeling, but I was like, put me in the mix, what's it going to be like? And it basically felt like recording an episode of this podcast. It was just tangents and silliness and insanity, and I loved it. So jumping into tonight's story, just kind of, well, more of a segue, I guess, but regardless of what you do celebrate this season, if anything at all, we all have our traditions at this time of year. So I get like stupid excited every time, the first time I get to hear Bing Crosby's Mele Kalikimaka every year. And every Christmas Eve, my husband and I curl up on the couch with the cats and we watch Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas and Die Hard every year. That is our tradition, and that is actually the thing I look forward to the most for Christmas time. Just that quiet evening, especially if it's, like snowing, just real gentle snow outside, because we live in town, so we have street lights outside, so even the darkest night you look outside and you can see what's going on, so you see the little white snowflakes falling, and it's just, that's the time.
It's the cozy season.
It is. I don't know if you have, I'm assuming you have some sort of traditions that you do either with your family, or I think this is the first Christmas since Bobo's moved down south, right?
Second, actually.
Second. Okay, I never remember when that happened. So yeah. You guys are probably going to start doing your own traditions and things like that. But what do you guys do? Like, what do you and either your family or you and Bobo do?
Well, the tradition that we have right now is on Christmas Eve, me and my mom always go to IHOP for breakfast.
Oh, God, I haven't been to IHOP in ages.
Like, I don't go there very often, so it's like Christmas Eve is the one time a year that, like, we're definitely going. Mm-hmm. We get up early and go before it gets really busy, as it always is on Christmas Eve.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds so good. Eat an extra pancake for me this year. Like, I have to tell you.
Like, can I'll order, and then, like, and I'll be like, can I get one pancake on the side?
You'll be like on a FaceTime in the middle of IHOP showing the pancake.
Your pancake was delicious.
I love it. That is so cute. That is so precious. But yeah, it's like everybody, you have that little tradition, and it's what makes this time of year special.
I guess it would also be considered a tradition, too, that we kind of have a family Christmas party on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, like the 2 days, like in the afternoon, we'll just play games and stuff.
Aww.
They do like the Secret Santa thing, like Christmas bingo.
Yeah, we do a Secret Santa too with my family, just because like it was getting out of hand having to buy everyone gifts, and like we're all adults now, which is sad. And
it eventually gets to a point where it's like, I don't know what to get anyone.
Exactly. Well, like I was actually really happy. I have some family that listen to this, so I can't tell you who I got for Secret Santa, but I already got my gift purchased and wrapped. I can't say the same for Chris. I still have...
Fair enough.
He's like, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, sucks to be you, dude.
And with the Secret Santa thing, something that I thought about that you'll probably enjoy hearing, it's a very Krakow thing. One year the Secret Santa thing is we don't buy a gift. You're going to find stuff around the house and make something Christmas themed, or like a decoration or something just out of whatever you have around the house. You can't buy anything for it. You have to use whatever you have at the house to piece something together.
Oh, I love that.
One of the gifts ended up being a plank of scrap wood with some twine attached to it. Like, they drilled holes in it and tied empty Mountain Dew cans and made a wind chime.
That's amazing. Oh my god, see, I love stuff like that because it's creative and it's different, and it's like you are never going, well, I mean, I don't think you would go and find that anywhere in a store.
I mean, you never know.
To be fair, I've seen some shady shops.
And then there was also the bird feeder that was just a plank of wood with an upside down toilet plunger attached to it. Plank of wood was the base, and you turn it upside down and you just screw it to the base, and then you can put bird feed in it.
That's special. That's definitely special.
I know I said we couldn't buy anything, but for that one, thankfully, they did actually buy a new plunger. Let me go ahead and clarify.
It was a brand new unused plunger. That's something, at least. But when you mentioned that you play board games and stuff like that on Christmas Eve as part of the party, I on Friday got to go to PAX Unplugged.
Ooh, fancy.
Yeah, I got to see, like, I totally nerded out over all the terrain stuff. It wasn't even funny.
I'm sure.
But Dwarven Forge had this huge booth, and they had a little area. So, like, you're not supposed to touch the display because they have, like, this ginormous display, and it's, like, everything they possibly offer is, like, in this display. But then off to the side, they had this little section where they had pieces that you could play with to see how all the modules go together, how the system works, and, you know, how sturdy it is. So, yeah, of course, I was there for a while. And then, you know, like, when you go to conventions, they do those little, like, badge attachment thingies. You know, it's like a little, like, almost like a ribbon that you win in, like, the science fair material.
Yeah.
And then it's like a little flag that sticks off your badge. We got ones that say Dwarven Army.
Nice.
Yeah, because we were there long enough, and I think they just wanted to get rid of us.
They're just like, let's go give those people haven't been here for, like, the entire day. Can you go give them something? They're scaring our customers away.
I mean, there was a whole bunch of people there when we got there, and then they all left. So I'm not saying it was Chris, but it was probably Chris.
Fair enough.
But yeah, it was really cool. And I was bummed. Matt Mercer was the keynote speaker, but the line capped out, I think, before we ever got in the building.
Yeah, I've had something similar to that happen to me before. Yeah, that sucks.
Well, Reading Terminal Market is directly next door to the convention center. And that's like, I don't know if you've ever heard of it or if you've ever been there, but it's amazing. It's just food stands, and it's also like a farmer's market. So they have like fresh meat and produce and all that kind of stuff, plus all these little cafes, bistros, restaurants, stuff like that. We went to like the Cajun Cafe and got po' boys for breakfast. It was like a 14-inch freaking baguette that they sliced down the center, fill with eggs and cheese, and then you get to choose, like, I'd picked bacon. Chris had a veggie one. They had alligator sausage was available. And then they just, like, stuff it full of all this breakfast food, and then they slice it in half the other way and wrap it up and give you the full 14-inch baguette. Food.
Well, now I've got to make one of these at home.
Oh my god, it was so good. It was so good. And then we got an order of beignets, and we didn't get to go back at lunch, but because we were still full from breakfast. But what I really, really wanted for lunch, so we're gonna have to go back there. I mean, we're not far from Philly. It's super easy to get down there for us. But they're called cheese boats.
You had me at cheese.
Krakow, wait. It is a bread bowl shaped like a boat
Mm-hmm.
filled with melted cheese.
Like, that's all that's in there?
I mean, you can get some, like, that's the basic thing. That's what a cheese boat is. And, like, you can get some that have, like, other stuff, but...
I mean, don't take that as a complaint by any means, but I'm just like, is that all that's in there? Is there something else there?
Well, it's multiple cheeses.
I'm sold.
Yeah, I saw this and I was like, oh my god, I need a cheese boat in my life.
Have you, are you familiar with that video of the possum getting dragged out of the soccer game or football game or whatever it was?
Yeah.
That's gonna be me. They're gonna have to drag me out.
Well, like, we were standing at Beck's, which is the Cajun stand, and I, like, look up and there was this huge neon sign and it just says cheese boats. And I'm like, Chris, what is a cheese boat? And he's like, I don't know. And so we were standing there waiting for our food. I could not stop looking over at this sign, and I had to go look and see what it was. And now I need to have one. I just absolutely 1000% need to have a cheese boat.
Same. See, look, there's so many things with food that I know this is turning into a food podcast, but like, there's so many like carnival foods or fair foods and stuff like that I see online that I want to try. I need to get up to Wisconsin to try the lightning rod mozzarella sticks that are like the size of your head, and that they make you order a pizza to get an order of them because people will come down there and buy their entire stock of massive cheese sticks.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go right now.
Oh, and apparently, to make it even better, they've partnered, because I live nowhere near Wisconsin, but I like their Facebook page to look at the food. They've partnered with another local place that just sells, like, different types of mac and cheese, so now you can get the massive mozzarella sticks in a bowl of gourmet mac and cheese.
Oh my god, that sounds amazing. So, I know down in Washington, D.C., this is another spot on this is another thing that I need to go. So I need to go to Reading Terminal Market and get a cheese boat, and I need to go to Washington, D.C. There is a place that makes gigantic pizzas, and then you order a slice, and a slice is like 16 inches from the pointy end to the crust.
Now, I don't know how big it is, but we do have a place nearby that like takes 2 normal-sized paper plates to hold 1 slice of pizza.
Oh, see, that's normal for this area.
Fair enough.
But yeah, like, it's this gigantic slice of pizza, and apparently there's 2 competing restaurants. Like, one started it and another one was like, oh look, I can do that too. And now they're like right down the street from each other or across the street from each other, and both of them serve gigantic slices of pizza. And I kind of want to go and get a slice at each and compare them. Like, this is my my life goal now, is to go to DC and get giant pizza slices.
So what I'm hearing is we need to figure out who all wants to chip in on this, and we'll get a group together of who all wants to go, and we'll just go on like a food road trip.
Okay. I like this. Although, to be honest, Reading Terminal Market could be like a week-long thing. There's so much stuff there.
I mean, I'm not saying we have to hit one place each day. It's like, it's going to take however long it takes until we try everything that we want to.
It's just going to take as long as it takes.
I didn't say it was like a month long. I just said a food road trip. It could be, a month, a week, 5 years, who knows?
Sounds yummy. Count me in. Because we're amazing at this, we haven't started our story yet.
Oh yeah, there's a story.
Yeah, I took the time to research it too. All right, so I talked about, my traditions, which are up in the cold Northeast, and, you're a little warmer down south, but, I mean, I still think you get, like, your chilly days and stuff like that.
Oh yes, definitely.
Today's story is going to be a stark contrast, because we're going to California, to a suburb of Los Angeles called Covina. So Covina is 22 miles from the big city, and it celebrates every year with a big Christmas parade and a tree lighting ceremony. But if you're looking for, rows of spruce trees with the lights and the baubles and all that stuff. You're going to be a little surprised when you go down the street and it's palm trees that are decorated with the twinkling lights.
I mean, different, but understandable.
Yeah, I mean, it's Southern California. But they love Christmas, and because it is a little bit outside of Los Angeles, it's a quieter, kind of low crime area, but it still has that flair of the city. And you are close by LA, so you can go and experience all the things that the big city has to offer. So in a quiet neighborhood at the end of a cul-de-sac, Joseph and Alice Ortega got extremely excited for Christmas every year. So Joseph was the first member of his family born in the United States. His parents had immigrated from Mexico, and he lived the American dream. He started his own successful industrial paint business, and he was able to have a comfortable life with his wife and their 5 children. It was very happy, very loving, full of support. Obviously family is family, but so each year, Joseph and Alicia. So Joseph was known as Papa Joe, and Alice, they opened their home to the whole family, friends, neighbors, every Christmas Eve for this huge Christmas party. They had food, wine, presents, and just a lot of fun. The kids would play video games and board games. The adults would mingle. And they even would have their neighbor Pat dress up as Santa and bring gifts to the kids every year until he moved out. I guess it was the year before. So that would be 2007. He moved out of the neighborhood, so he couldn't do it anymore. And 2008 was no different. There was laughter and conversation on the air, the smells of food, family, and Christmas. It was just, it just sounded warm and cozy. And, with their Mexican heritage, I can only imagine how delicious that food was. Because I have a huge soft spot, especially, I love empanadas so much. So much.
I mean, really any kind of Hispanic food is pretty good.
Truth. So, I'm just imagining the smells and the everything. I mean, it was Taco Tuesday, so I had tacos for dinner, and I can just imagine how much. And then they had the Christmas tree up, so you had the smell of the pine and the food, the wine, the candles. It just now I'm hungry.
Peak cozy.
Yeah. So as the night grew later, a lot of the extraneous guests would leave, the neighbors, the friends, etc. But the core family stayed there, and they had a huge tradition of a big poker game.
Okay, so just a couple things really quick. One, I'm terrified about how much you're hyping up how peaceful and happy this whole thing is, because that doesn't mean good things. Second, I know what you meant, but it was kind of funny hearing some of the guests would leave, but the core family would stay. It's the family's having a Christmas party at their house, and then the family just starts leaving. Where are they going?
Fair. I mean, I will say, so, I have major issues with anxiety, and even, that even includes with my family. My social battery is very small. So I usually can only stay at family gatherings 1 to 2 hours before I start to just get peopled out.
That's fair.
Yeah, it's not that I don't love everybody. It's not that I don't want to be there. It's just that I physically and mentally can't take anymore. So situations like that. But yeah, yeah, the family should be at the family Christmas party. That would make sense.
Like, I just picture, like, just for example, mom, dad, 2 kids, and it's just like, all of a sudden the kids just walk out the front door, and it's just like, bye, thanks for the party, we're going home. Like, you live here, where are you going?
It's like, you are home.
Honestly, that's something I would do before turning around and going, oh yeah, that's right.
Whoopsie. So the 5 Ortega siblings were Sylvia, Charles, James, Letitia, and Alicia. And highly competitive, especially at the poker game. So again, still loved each other. It was all good fun, but everybody wanted to win. So Santa always arrived towards the end of the night when the kids were getting tired. So when the doorbell rang around 11:30 p.m., Letitia's 8-year-old daughter, Katrina, answered. She flung the door open, and there was Santa Claus with presents and excitement. Just, how kids are with Santa. It just got electric.
Mm-hmm.
What Katrina did not expect was that this Santa was not there to bring gifts of love or goodwill. The first gunshot rang out, and the bullet hit Katrina in the face. Luckily for her, it entered to the side of her mouth and basically went out of her cheek, so it was purely cosmetic. Obviously traumatic for a small child to get a gunshot wound, but she survived, made a full recovery. From Santa, but she made a full recovery. Unfortunately, Santa did not stop there. He was equipped with multiple semi-automatic handguns, plenty of ammunition, and mysterious wrapped packages. And he continued into the party. He next targeted the 2 elder Ortega siblings, which were James and Charles, the 2 boys. He then moved on to Sylvia, shooting her execution style in front of her parents before killing Papa Joe and Alice the exact same way. He then shot Alicia, James's wife Teresa, and Charles's wife Sherry, or Cherie. I heard it both ways. And then once the gunman ran out of ammunition, he returned to the main entryway to unwrap the quote-unquote present that he brought with him. So you were correct. This is where everything was great until it wasn't.
So, no pun intended, but this is a lot to unpack here. And again, I know we've said this before, that obviously we deal with things by making jokes, and it's not that we think the situation is funny or anything.
As Bailey Sarian says, I'm laughing because I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, is this the new naughty list?
There's still a lot more to unpack.
Great.
Like, usually, this level is towards the end of our stories. This is just the beginning.
This is a case of actually going from 0 to 100 very quick.
Yes. Yes, it is. So, inside the wrapped present, so it was wrapped in Christmas paper, it had bows, etc., was a compressor that had been modified to have sprayers. And there were 2 different canisters. One was filled with compressed oxygen, and the other high-octane fuel.
Because that's a good combo.
Yeah. So Santa, or the gunman, as we should probably refer to him as.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it wasn't actually Santa.
It's the fake Santa.
Yeah, started to spray the house with this mixture. The initial explosion is what caught the neighbors' attention and triggered the initial 911 calls. The members of the Ortega family that were still alive were escaping the house as however they could. So obviously, when the first shots rang out, people started to scatter. Not everyone was able to escape the house. Some of them went into hiding within the house, but when everything started to catch fire, there were people jumping out of windows. There were it was just everyone trying to get out.
And it's crazy to think that, like, in that situation, like, normally when if you were trying to get away from someone, you're not going to think about going out the second floor window. But with this amount of chaos, you're probably not thinking twice about anything you're doing.
Yeah. Well,
just dive out the window? Yeah, sure. Why not?
So Letitia was the only one of the Ortega siblings that was able to get out. And she was able to grab her 8-year-old daughter and her husband. The three of them escaped into the backyard over a fence, and they were able to call 911 as well. Since it, like I said, was a small, low-crime area, emergency services was on the scene quickly. So if this had happened in downtown LA, it could have been a different story between traffic and population and everything that's happening. But in Covina, Christmas Eve is usually a quiet night. But by the time emergency services got there, even though it was just minutes, the flames were reaching 40 and 50 feet in the air. It took 80 firefighters over an hour and a half to tame the blaze, as neighbors were terrified it was going to spread to other homes in the area. You know, catch trees, catch fences, catch other homes.
With a fire that big, yeah.
Yeah, their neighbor was sure her house was going to go up next. As the firefighters were working tirelessly, police were gathering and surveying the survivors, trying to get head counts, see if there were people still stuck inside, see, you know, what they could find out. And they determined that there had been about 25 people in the house at the time of the attack, and only 16 were accounted for. This meant that 9 people were either still inside or had fled and weren't accounted for. Additionally, they weren't sure if the gunman had escaped or was trapped inside and died in the explosion.
You know, that's another thing that's, like, I don't think we've really thought about much, is, like, how horrifying is that to be there and, like, the firefighters, you're putting out this fire and you don't know if the person who did it is still here.
Yeah. And, like, you get these reports, not only somebody who torched this house, but also they are armed.
Yes.
And they could be behind you. You know, you have no idea.
Yeah, you get there and your first thought is, I gotta put the fire out, not, where's the shooter?
Yeah, exactly. So before any investigation could begin, and I never even thought about this, because I don't look into arson a lot, but the fire, it had to be completely extinguished, of course, but it also had to cool.
Interesting.
Because it was so high heat. They had to wait for it to cool before they could start sifting through the wreckage,
Yeah, wreckage is a good word, yeah.
Smoldering ruin.
Sifting through the chaos.
And while they were waiting, they requested assistance from the coroner's office with the investigation, because they knew if people had been trapped in the house, this burned hot and fast, and they were going to need help. So the coroner brought in their SORT team, their SORT team, which stands for Special Operations Response Team. And this consisted of investigators, criminologists, pathologists, specialized photographers, as well as, you know, the actual coroner, medical examiner, etc. The teams were able to find the bodies of the 9 missing family members, but they were completely charred and unrecognizable. They had to use dental records and medical x-rays to identify each victim in the autopsies, and they obviously conducted thorough investigations of each body to determine cause of death, identity, etc.
Can you imagine the type of person that it takes to be the coroner who goes through these house fires and stuff like this situation? And that's just what you're, I guess, quote, used to seeing and being around.
I don't think anybody was used to seeing this.
I'm sure it's not something you get used to, but
Because, like, I mean, when you're a coroner or medical examiner, you see everything from the 90-year-old man who died of natural causes to, you know,
yes,
gunshot victims, stabbing victims, arson victims, drowning victims. So that's not a job I would ever want.
no.
That is definitely not a job I would ever want. But yeah, I was watching, I put it in the notes and I forget what it's called. Homicide for the Holidays. That's, and the main police investigator was talking about how, you know, it's a low crime area. They had never before seen anything like this. You know, the police, the firefighters, the SWAT team, everybody, they had training, but like, this is not something that just happens. This is not something that...
And two, I'm sure the training is nothing compared to actually being in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, they can teach you anything in the world. They can say, hey, this horrible thing could happen, but unless you see it with your own eyes and you experience it yourself, like...
It's just like, I guess, watching a story like this on the news and then being the neighbor.
Yeah. From the autopsies, they discovered that Sylvia, Joseph, and Alice died from the gunshot wounds. I guess Joseph had multiple gunshot wounds. Sylvia and Alice were executed. Then Charles, James, Teresa, Cherie, and Alicia died from a combination of gunshot wounds and the fire. So, you know, they were bleeding out. I'm not sure if they were conscious when the fire overtook them, but, you know, it was a combination of the two. And additionally, Alicia's 17-year-old son was trapped in the house and died from the fire. So I just saw died from the fire. I don't know if it was from the smoke inhalation, which is usually what it is, or if it was actually, you know...
I know we've talked about the whole burning and drowning and all of this. I don't know what would be better in this situation, the smoke or the fire.
Well, I don't like that I know this. From smoke inhalation, you will pass out.
Fair.
Before you die. So there is at least that. Whereas, depending on your pain tolerance, if you catch on fire, you may or may not pass out from the pain. I would say it would probably be better to at least be unconscious from smoke inhalation.
Yeah.
But no matter what, it was a horrible way to die.
I was about to say.
And you'll notice I said they found 9 bodies, which means the attacker was not found. They assumed he escaped. One of the Ortega's neighbors gave a statement that around 11:45, so the attacker arrived at 11:30. This would have been 15 minutes later. A blue, they said it was a small blue car. It was determined to be a blue Dodge Caliber. Drove at high speed down the street with no headlights on. And if you'll remember, I said that they lived at the end of a cul-de-sac, so there weren't people just driving through the neighborhood to, like, as a shortcut or something like that. So police were pretty sure this was the suspect that had left. Obviously, no headlights on, it was nighttime, couldn't see the driver or anything like that, but at least they had the note that there was a blue little car involved.
It's better than nothing.
So the Covina Police Department was finally working. You know, they were able to remove the bodies from the house. They were able to start investigating. And then they got an odd call from the LAPD. Approximately 30 miles away in Sylmar, California, a man named Brad Pardo came home from a Christmas party to find his brother Bruce on the couch, dead from a gunshot wound. There was one gun found near the body and then a second across the room on the floor. It looked like there was, you know, some bullets like in the wall and the ceiling. They had no idea what was going on. But when LAPD looked into Bruce's background, they discovered that he had been married to Sylvia Ortega, one of the victims in Covina. And now police were terrified that there may be a killer on the loose with a specific list of victims to be targeted.
Oh, no.
So now that they linked the two horrible crime scenes, Covina PD and LAPD joined forces and were going to work both cases together. For the Ortega mass murder, it would be classified as a mass murder. So we've talked about this before, but the differences between mass murder, serial murder, a serial killer is going to murder multiple victims over a span of time with a cool down between them. So, they will have their first victim weeks, months, years, second victim, weeks, months, years, etc. Whereas a mass murder is somebody who kills multiple people in a single location at a single time. So this includes horrible things such as school shootings, something like this where this person killed 9 people in a home. Also like family annihilators, like John List would be in this list, in this classification. So it would be the Ortega mass murder as well as the arson. They spoke to survivors. They spoke to neighbors. The Ortega family, like I said, they were a great family. They were rooted in Covina, Joseph and Alice, they got married there. They raised their kids there. The kids went to school there, grew up there. Some of them still lived there. The town, they weren't just well known in town. They were really well liked. James and Charles worked at their father's business for years, and then when he retired, took over. James branched out and opened his own paint shop. Charles and Joseph, actually, I saw they bought a racehorse together. So they had a jockey, they had a horse, they had stables and all this stuff. So it's like, obviously if you hate your family, you're not going to do something like that with them. And then Joseph retired very comfortably with Alice, and they would, spend their time with the kids and the grandkids, and obviously have this big Christmas party each year. The gunshot victim, Bruce Pardo, was also described by neighbors and friends and coworkers as, well-liked, good-natured. Just days before all this happened, a neighbor saw him visiting his brother and said he was in good spirits, ready for the holidays. Bruce was highly intelligent, very well educated. He was a software engineer who had government security clearance for contracts he worked on for a division of NASA. So he actually worked on software that went to space.
Interesting.
Yeah, that anytime I see NASA, I'm like, it's like shiny paper. I'm like, NASA?
Basically.
Really?
It's Mo finding the name NASA in a story is like getting a random pack of copy paper from the store, and one of those sheets is like foil.
NASA, you say? As they're looking into this, a third call linked police to one more interesting item in this case. And this one is kind of out of left field. In Pasadena, a man named Scott Nord called about a suspicious, I can't believe I am struggling with that word so much, suspicious vehicle outside of his home. There was a silver RAV4 parked on the street. Never saw it before, had no idea who it belonged to. It was just there. So they obviously were going to start looking into that as well. Kind of turning back, 8-year-old Katrina, doctors said she's going to make a full recovery. So police were finally able to interview Letitia, as I said, the only surviving child of Joseph and Alice. After giving her accounts of the event, Letitia said she thought she knew who the attacker was. Her sister's ex-husband, Bruce Pardo.
Interesting.
Yeah, so police had the same kind of reaction. They were shocked and confused, but they started to dig deeper. They were like, all right, maybe maybe you inhaled some smoke, maybe, the trauma got to you, maybe you're confused, or maybe it's some guy who kind of looked like him or something. But they started digging, and they found out that the silver RAV4 parked outside of the home in Pasadena, California, was actually rented by Bruce Pardo. And then they kind of looked a little deeper.
Bruce was the one found on the couch, right?
Yep.
Hey.
Well, they found out that the man who called, Scott Nord, was Sylvia Ortega's divorce attorney when she divorced Bruce. And when they interviewed Scott, the attorney, he shed some light on what happened in their relationship. So Bruce and Sylvia were introduced by a mutual friend in 2004. Sylvia had recently started dating again after going through a pretty rough divorce. Sylvia and Bruce had an instant connection, and they married the next year. Sylvia and her 3 kids moved in with him in Montrose, California, which is in the same general area outside of LA. Neighbors said that the whole family was just lovely. The kids were happy. They were really well behaved. Sylvia seemed just like the perfect mom, very loving, very caring. And Bruce seemed like the perfect father figure, very loving, very supportive. Kids were happy. Everything seemed great. In early 2008, though, Bruce sustained a serious knee injury. Now, the active, athletic lifestyle he was loved and was used to wasn't possible because of his knee. And he sort of secluded himself at home. Some accounts said he kind of turned into a hermit. He would spend a lot of time just sitting around on the computer, on the couch, drinking, etc. And Sylvia said that he was just a completely different person. He wasn't fun-loving. He wasn't happy and laughing, and he was just really upset all the time. But the final straw of the relationship is when Sylvia found a letter regarding information on Bruce's tax return. And she discovered the child that was listed as a dependent on his official tax records.
Ooh.
Bruce had never told her that he had a kid or that he was paying child support.
Kind of like a thing that I wouldn't think he would just not mention, but
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, I feel like that's one of those things. Now, if you didn't know, it's completely different.
Mm-hmm.
But if you know you have a kid and you're getting married to a person who has a bunch of kids, maybe you should tell them, hey, I have a kid from a past relationship.
Yeah.
This is when he obviously had to tell her what happened. And you now learn a little bit more about him as a person. 3 years before he met Sylvia, he had been living with his girlfriend, and they had a little boy named Matthew. In January of 2001, his girlfriend left the boy with Bruce while she went to get groceries. Something so simple, something so innocuous. When she got home, Bruce was watching TV and had no idea where Matthew was. Just wasn't paying attention. So the little boy had gotten out of the house and was found face down in the pool. Emergency services were able to save his life. Before you got in there, I did want to say he did survive. Anyway.
I understand getting distracted, but how is the distraction that bad?
Yeah. And obviously it took a while. The kid had to get out of the house, get out there, fall in the pool, etc. It wasn't he blinked and the kid was
Yeah.
It was
a process.
So he was able to, he did survive, but the brain damage from not breathing for so long was severe. Matthew would be restricted to a wheelchair and have special needs the rest of his life. And I don't know what your response would be. I don't know what my response would be, but I can guess at what it would be. I feel like I would probably care about this child that is mine. But immediately after this happened, Bruce just left. He left. Just abandoned the two of them without thinking twice.
Yeah, I would feel very awful. I wouldn't just leave. Like, I really don't know what I would do, because it was just like, I would feel terrible about it. But at the same time, it's like, I don't understand how a distraction can, like, distract you that much.
Well, yeah, I can't figure out how this could have happened, let alone his reaction to it. But it does kind of showcase he had a child and had no emotional connection to him. That's kind of a big red flag.
It's like, I understand getting, like, sucked into something, but, like, I'm still aware that I have pets in the house. So, like, how do you forget there's a child in the house?
That you're supposed to be watching.
Exactly.
The whole point is that you were supposed to watch the kid. Yeah. So yeah, he just abandoned them. After hearing this, not only was Sylvia appalled, very similar to the way we were, but she was terrified for her own kids.
Understandably.
Yeah, she took the kids immediately and went to her family's home. I guess the first night she stayed with her aunt, and then she did move in with her parents, and filed for divorce. Obviously.
Mm-hmm.
In June of 2008, Bruce was ordered to pay $1,785 a month in spousal support. Additionally, the final divorce settlement required him to pay her an additional $10,000. In court, he openly complained that she was living with her parents rent-free and spent her money on luxury items, so he shouldn't have to pay any support.
You know, I think given the nature of, you know, what he did and everything, I'm not saying it wasn't a mistake or anything, but, like, I would have just been like, okay, that's fine. He doesn't want to pay. That's okay. Let's just let him go away. Let's just be done with this. I do want the money. Let him go away.
If you were with someone for 4 years and not once it came up that you had a kid,
yeah,
you owe her something.
Yeah, but still, like, given the situation and, like, the crime stories and all, I would probably be the paranoid one and just be like, I don't want to end up on Dateline, so let's just not worry about payment. Let's just end this and go our separate ways, and I will flee the country.
Well, his complaint did not change the court ruling, and the divorce was finalized December 17th, 2008, just 1 week before the Christmas party.
Oh, no. Also, I realized I said Dateline when the show I'm looking for was Unsolved Mysteries. Those are two completely different shows.
A little bit.
Just a little bit.
A teeny tiny little bit.
I was like, what's that reality show where they catch people and all this? Oh, right, Dateline. Wait, that's the wrong show.
So, at this point, police turn their attention to Bruce. There are just red flags popping up everywhere. With the motive of the divorce, the financial arrangements, they analyzed his autopsy report. The autopsy determined that he took his own life. There was gunshot residue and powder burns indicating that he held the gun that took his life, as well as the angle. So it went from below the chin straight out the top of the head. And, you know, forensics, they were able to determine all that. Additionally, they observed that he suffered third-degree burns on a large portion of his arms, and there was even material from the Santa suit melted into the skin as well as melted into his shoes and parts of his clothing.
Surely that's not the only thing, obviously, that led him to doing that, but how do you go to the doctor for that after what you just did and the investigation that's ongoing? Just got some melted Santa suit on my arm. Don't put two and two together. It's probably fine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why he didn't go to the hospital.
I wonder if, like, he knew he was going to get caught.
Well, the arson investigation showed that, and some of the other stuff, witness reports and everything like that, he had flares with him that he was going to use to ignite the blaze. And he did not realize that there was an open flame in the house when he started spreading the mixture. So he thought he was going to be outside when the fire caught. He had no intention of being in that house when the initial explosion occurred. So then getting those third-degree burns on, a good chunk of his body, he was in a lot of pain, which he deserved.
Mm-hmm.
They did find the blue Dodge Caliber on the street nearby, and they found the Santa suit, or the Santa costume, in addition to thousands of rounds of ammunition. Thousands.
Not concerning at all.
Nope. When they removed the costume, police did not realize it was booby-trapped until it was too late.
Oh, no.
He tied the costume to one of the flares so that when the string was pulled, it ignited and the car exploded. Fortunately, no one was harmed in the blast, but not only was there a large explosion that completely destroyed the car, but it was discharging ammunition into the surrounding area. I can only imagine how terrifying that would be.
On one hand, the ammunition going off in the car would mainly be frightening because of the sound, but I don't think that it would really go anywhere since it's not like in a barrel.
Okay. I wasn't sure if it was like fireworks or what, but...
It most likely would just go off, like it might move a few feet, but it's not gonna like fly through houses.
Okay, that's good.
It shouldn't, but who knows?
Yeah. So any evidence that would have been found in the car was destroyed. Police then secured a search warrant for his home in Montrose. This is where they found boxes for the guns, more ammunition, black powder, bomb-making materials, the things that he used to customize the canister and the sprayers and stuff like that, as well as written lists and plans. So the plan was not to take his own life. If he hadn't been caught in that blast and hurt, he planned to kill Scott Nord and his family. They also apparently found that he was planning to kill his own mother because she sided with Sylvia in the divorce.
Man, that's pretty bad that his own mother sided with Sylvia in that.
And that he cared so little that he would kill his own mom. Like, that's cold.
It sounds like his mom knew what kind of person he was.
Yeah. So then after his list, the plan was to take that RAV4 and drive to Mexico and disappear. It was filled with packed solid. He had his computer in there, food, water, drinks, maps, I guess, money. It was his escape. He was going to just drive away and disappear.
And it's just interesting to me that people that make these escape plans and stuff like this, it's like, one, it never goes according to plan, and two, how is that going to work? Like, these people who are connected to you in some way are now dead, and you are missing, and no one's going to think twice about that or put two and two together? No one's going to want to contact you and figure out, where you are, what you're doing, why you left.
I mean, look at John List. He disappeared for 40 years. I mean, they did luckily catch him, but if Pardo had fled to Mexico.
Yeah, true. There's that, and then there's also the Shawshank Redemption story where that guy escaped and disappeared for years.
Yup. Yeah, I mean, it's not likely, and I hope it doesn't happen often, but it is possible.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, oh, he's bringing his computer. Like, they're not going to be able to track him because, you know, he unplugged it from the wall and he's plugging it in somewhere else. Because that's how that works, right?
Yeah. I mean, he worked on software for NASA. I'm pretty sure he would be able to cover his tracks digitally.
I would hope.
But police determined that if he had succeeded, if everything went according to plan, he would have killed approximately 30 people that night.
That's a good thing he didn't.
9 is still too many, but 30 people were able to survive.
Yes.
So after he attacked the Ortegas and he was burnt, he went to his brother's house expecting Brad to be home. He didn't know what else to do. He was in a lot of pain. And while he was waiting, the pain was just too great. And they believe that is why Bruce took his life, because that was not the plan. You know, it was just, he felt there was nothing else to do.
Yeah.
Like, on one hand, I'm glad that it stopped him from killing more people. But on the other hand, I kind of wish he could have faced justice.
Yeah, but at least, you know, he had the painful injuries. At least there's a little bit of justice.
Yeah.
Somewhat.
Yeah, I mean, I almost said this without, like, thinking of how it was going to sound when it comes out. I burned myself a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, wait a second.
Not intentionally.
Yeah, I use a hot glue gun for a lot of the crafts and stuff that I use. And a lot of times I will burn myself. Now, these are... They hurt, but they're not second or third degree burns.
Bro, I've got like a white spot on my knuckle from when I accidentally tapped a 400-degree oven door, and that was just too much. So, yeah.
I will say CVS sells a burn gel with lidocaine and aloe in it. And I have a bottle on my desk at all times because I burn myself on the hot glue gun that often.
This next phrase I'm about to say is going to be the most country and the most Krakow thing you have probably ever heard so far.
All right, Skeeter.
My family has always been the ones that, like, yeah, we have, like, burn creams and stuff, but usually it's like, just get a little mustard and put on it, it'll be fine.
Mustard?
Yeah.
Does it work?
It actually does.
What?
I think it has something to do with, like, the vinegar in it.
Huh. That's crazy.
Like, it's weird and your hand's gonna smell like mustard, but...
I mean, it's better than hurting. Yeah, I have a giant box of Band-Aids and a tube of Neosporin and burn cream at my desk at all times, in addition to my Advil.
Okay.
But you know why I have all the Band-Aids. So recently I was working on terrain and I sliced 4 of the fingers on my left hand in pretty much one go. And one of them was... Oh, it was a gusher. It was a gusher. Like, it was to the point that we were debating whether or not I should go to the ER. So, my mom raised 3 kids. She's seen a lot of a lot. So, like, I sent her this picture of my bloody finger after the first round of Band-Aids. So, it, like, had this bloody Band-Aid hanging off of it. I'm like, look what I did!
Mm-hmm.
And my mom...
And I bet the response you got was just, alright, don't do it again.
Well, she's like, is it still bleeding? Do you need to go to the hospital? I'm like, no, I think I'm okay. She's like, just keep an eye on it.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
But like that, I guess that's what a mother of 3 does. Just keep an eye on it.
Yeah, that sounds right. Also, speaking of that, I have an idea for you for your next craft project that would be like a thing you could work on over time. For all your medical supplies, you should find like an old wooden cabinet that you can like weather and turn into your own little fantasy medical cabinet for all your medical supplies in the craft room.
Oh, like an old apothecary shop.
Basically, yeah, but it's got like Band-Aids and stuff in it.
I love it. I actually, you know what? Now I need to find a place in my office/craft room for something like that.
You know, so you can paint like a little red cross on the door or something.
That would be amazing. I love it. I absolutely love it. before we, like, tangents can continue and everything like that, but that is the story, the very tragic story of the Covina Christmas
I
Massacre.
still find it interesting that there's a lot of stories like this that I have never heard.
Yeah.
It seems like one of those things that, would have been everywhere, but
Yeah.
I've never heard of this.
Yeah, and like 2008 wasn't that, I mean, it was a while ago, but it wasn't that, okay, it was a while ago. It was almost 20 years ago. It was 15 years ago. But like still, I feel that would have been in like my adult life. And I feel like I would have heard about this. Like it would have been all over the news. It would have been all over TV and all this stuff. And this was the first time I had heard about it as well.
I guess it's just one of those things. It was more local.
Yeah.
It would have been probably everywhere on California news stations, but not so much on the other side of the country.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know, but yeah, so every year for Christmas, I just search for Christmas specific stories. And when this one came up, I was like, okay, this is what we're going to cover this.
That's fair.
But
it was a well-written story, horrifying, but good.
Yeah, like I said, this one kind of, because it's like, it was twists and turns, and like even, so like I knew from the beginning Bruce was the bad guy. But all I knew is he went in, did this horrible stuff. And then you find out about the divorce. You find out about his son. You find out about all of this crazy stuff. And it just kept going. And there was just another layer and another layer and another layer. And then, like, who booby traps a car? Like,
yeah, he very clearly thought that one through.
Yeah, like, I never thought I would actually be able to say, while speaking of a true life event, the word booby trapped.
Yeah.
Like that's like a thing from movies.
Like, who booby traps the evidence? Like,
yeah. I'm just glad no one was hurt in that explosion, because I could very easily see you go and you pull this and don't realize you triggered it. And you're like, is something burning? Do you guys smell that? And then all of a sudden, somebody is severely hurt in the explosion. So luckily, they were able to get away. There wasn't somebody, like, I mean, imagine if a kid had been walking down the street or riding their bike or something.
Yeah.
So luckily, nobody was there and all that stuff. But yeah, like.
So that's like whenever I researched the town bully of Skidmore, like, I knew the general story. But then looking into it, I found out so much more that I didn't know, that I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, that one was crazy, man. That was crazy.
There's just that one and then a couple other ones that I think I've done at some point that it was like, I know the story, but I didn't know, like, all the details.
Yes, so that is our story for this week. And then we will have one more episode this year on the 28th. I think. Yeah, because this episode, it will release on the 14th. We will have an episode that releases on the 28th, so that will be our last episode of the year. And then starting January, we'll be going back to every week, as we did before. And yeah, I can't remember if we mentioned it. I think we talked about it last week, but we do have a small surprise for you guys coming up for Christmas or holidays in general.
And it's not like a, horrifying surprise, considering, the nature of the podcast.
Right. I guess I'm going to need to return all those supplies and the plane ticket to see you, Krakow.
I thought about it as I was saying it. I was like, that sounds awful murdery.
Yeah. I'm not gonna murder you. No, I'm not.
Given the nature of our podcast, we'll be visiting one lucky listener.
Actually, it was funny. I don't know why this just triggered in my mind, but I had therapy today. That's not the funny part. I really need to learn how to frame things better. It's really funny.
Same, but that's what makes conversation so interesting, though.
This is true. It's so funny. I had therapy today, but no, I was talking to my therapist, and I was talking about, because obviously she knows about my social battery, and I was saying that, like, I'm peopled out right now, and I needed like just a little bit of a break from people. And I'm like, I mean, I'm recording the podcast tonight, but that doesn't count because it's Krakow. And like, we kind of got in this conversation, like, you and Chris are just my life. Like, you guys, you're not social. You're just, you know, you're part of, it's like talking to my parents, talking to my brother and my sister. Like, you're just part of my life, you know, your family.
One of those people that doesn't drain the battery.
Yeah. And I mean, it also doesn't hurt that, you know, it's just online, you know, we're just on a call and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, it's just Krakow, it doesn't count.
I'm not a people, this doesn't count. 75 frogs don't count.
I mean, you're not a people, but you know,
This is true.
but yeah, I was just like, you know, thinking about, I don't remember if everything blurs together. Maybe I said this last year Christmas, but like, your family doesn't have to be your blood.
Right.
You know, you do have the family you choose, and you know, you're part of the family I choose.
I'm that weird cousin that just comes around on the holidays that everyone is worried, like, what's he gonna do this year?
Well, I mean, I was gonna say, it does kind of make me wonder about my life choices, but you know.
National Lampoon's Cousin Eddie.
Shitter's full.
You just hear that, you look outside and it's me.
Except I don't live at the street drain that's down the block.
I thought of something worse.
Oh no.
You hear that phrase, but I'm coming from wherever the litter boxes are, not the bathroom.
No! No! All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. Like we said, this is our last story before Christmas, but we will see you after the holiday, and hopefully everyone will be filled with delicious food and happy from whatever you may have received from loved ones, whether it be presents or just a hug. Both are fantastic. So,
Yes.
Happy holidays, everybody, and we will see you on the flip side.
Hey, bye.
As always, make sure to check out our website for all of the show notes, sources, and more information at thesquonkandthehag.com.
And we would also love and appreciate your support by either leaving a review on iTunes or through small monthly donations using the viewer support link in the description. And if you don't subscribe, make sure to follow us on your favorite podcast network to get notified of new episodes every Thursday.
All right, Krakow, you ready?
Hey, bye.